Continuing with the life process transportation, second part of circulatory system is heart, which is a vital organ. It is made up of cardiac muscles which work tirelessly throughout their lives and they never stop. Approximately size of heart is equal to the size of our clenched fist. Shape is triangular or conical and location is in the thorax region in between the two lungs, well protected by the ribs also. Another protection around the heart is a two-layered membrane around it called as pericardium. In between the two layers, there is a fluid called as pericardial fluid. And this fluid reduces the friction between the heart wall and the surrounding tissue while the heart is contracting and relaxing. Heart is divided into four chambers. Upper two chambers which are smaller, they are called as atria, and the lower two chambers which are larger, they are called as ventricles. Now on the right side of the heart, there is right atrium and right ventricle, and on the left side of the heart, there is left atrium and left ventricle. And one thing need to be noticed here, that right side of the heart is not connected to left side of the heart. It is separated by a muscular partition which is called as septum. Now right side of the heart contains deoxygenated blood and left side contains oxygenated blood. Right atrium is the upper small chamber present on the right side of the heart. It is connected to right ventricle with the help of a valve which is called as tricuspid valve. Now this valve allows the flow of blood only in one direction, that is from right atrium to right ventricle. Blood can't flow back from ventricle back into the atrium. Now in the right atrium, two blood vessels pour their blood. One is this blood vessel which is bringing blood from the upper regions of the body which are above the heart. It is called as superior vena cava. And the second one which is bringing blood from the lower parts of the body and it is called as inferior vena cava. Both these vena cavas pour their blood into the right atrium. Deoxygenated blood from the right atrium is pumped into the right ventricle through tricuspid valve. As soon as blood enters the right ventricle, these tricuspid valves close so as to prevent any backflow of the blood. Function of right ventricle is to get oxygen, so it sends the blood to the lungs. For that, the walls of the right ventricle contract and blood is taken to the lungs with the help of this artery called as pulmonary artery. It bifurcates into two branches. One branch goes towards the left lung and the other goes towards the right lung. One more thing to be noticed here is that the walls of the right ventricle are thicker than the walls of the right atrium, and it is for the obvious reason that right ventricle has to pump the blood to a longer distance, that is towards the lungs. As a result, blood is under high pressure here. So to protect the walls from any damage, the walls of the ventricle are thicker. Oxygenated blood from lungs is brought back to the heart with the help of pulmonary veins, and these pulmonary veins pour the blood into the left atrium, which is the oxygenated blood. From left atrium, blood enters into the left ventricle through bicuspid valves, and as soon as blood enters the left ventricle, the valves close to prevent any backflow. Function of left ventricle is now to pump this blood to all the parts of the body. As a result, the walls of the ventricle are very thick because the blood is under very high pressure here. This blood is taken to all the parts of the body with the help of this arch-shaped blood vessel called as aorta. And aorta is the largest blood vessel in the body. Let's now quickly revise all the blood vessels which are linked with the heart. The first blood vessel is vena cava, superior vena cava which is bringing blood from the upper part of the body, inferior vena cava which is bringing blood from the lower part of the body, and this is deoxygenated blood. So first blood vessel is vena cava which is bringing deoxygenated blood into the right atrium from where it goes into the right ventricle. Now another blood vessel called as pulmonary artery takes this deoxygenated blood to the lungs to get oxygen. Oxygenated blood from the lungs is then carried with the help of pulmonary veins back into the heart in the left atrium. It goes to left ventricle and from the left ventricle, aorta carries it to all the parts of the body. Muscles of heart are contracting and relaxing rhythmically, causing the heartbeat. Now we will see how is it done. Initially, all the four chambers of the heart are in the relaxed state, and at this point of time, blood is being filled in both the atria. So when atria are full of blood, the valves open, this tricuspid valve and bicuspid valve open, and blood starts pouring into the ventricles. At this point of time, the walls of the ventricles are in the relaxed state and the muscles are dilated. This condition is called as ventricular diastole, and at this point of time, pressure inside the ventricles as well as inside the arteries is very low. It is called as diastolic pressure, which should be 80 millimeter of mercury in a normal person. When the ventricles are full of blood, these valves close so as to prevent any backflow. After that, both the ventricles contract simultaneously, and this condition is called as ventricular systole. And at this point of time, the pressure inside the ventricles as well as inside the arteries is very high, called as systolic pressure, which should be 120 millimeter of mercury. So the blood pressure that we measure, that is 120 by 80, is actually the systolic, and the diastolic pressure of the contraction and expansion of the ventricles. While discussing the structure of heart, we have seen that in one complete cycle, blood enters the heart 2 times, and this is called as double circulation. So let's quickly see how. Now from the heart, deoxygenated blood is taken to the lungs where it gets oxygen, and then oxygenated blood is brought back to the heart. Now this part of circulation is called as pulmonary circulation, where blood from heart goes to lungs and then it is brought back to the heart. Now the second circulation is when this oxygenated blood from heart goes to the body, and from the body it is collected back and comes to heart again. So from heart to body back to heart is the second circulation, which is called as systemic circulation. So this is called as double circulation, that in one complete cycle blood enters the heart 2 times. Now let's quickly revise the blood vessels which are taking and bringing blood to or from the heart. So first of all, we will see this pulmonary circulation. From right ventricle, pulmonary artery is taking blood to the lungs for purification. From the lungs, pulmonary veins are bringing back this blood into the left atrium. Now here one more very important thing to notice is that arteries are usually those blood vessels which are carrying oxygenated blood. There is only one exception to that, and which is this pulmonary artery. Now we can see this pulmonary artery is carrying deoxygenated blood, and all the veins usually they carry deoxygenated blood, but except this pulmonary vein which is carrying the oxygenated blood. Okay, so now we come back to the pulmonary circulation. So in pulmonary circulation, pulmonary artery is taking blood from heart to lungs and pulmonary vein from lungs to heart. Now we will see the systemic circulation. From the heart, blood is taken to all the parts of the body with the help of aorta, and from the body, blood is brought back to the heart with the help of vena cava, which are superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava. Double circulation plays a very significant role. Now before discussing the significance of this double circulation, we will discuss the hearts of the other vertebrates. Now fishes, we know they have 2 chambered heart, one atrium and one ventricle. Amphibians, 3 chambered. There are 2 atria, but there is only one ventricle. And reptiles, they have 2 atria which are fully separated from each other, and they are 2 ventricles in the making. In the making means there is half the wall has been formed between the 2 ventricles, but rest half of it there is no wall. That suggests that the oxygenated and deoxygenated bloods mix in the ventricles of the reptiles. Now in the birds, right side of the heart is totally separated from the left side with the help of septum, and same is with the mammals. So now we see that in amphibians and reptiles, oxygenated and deoxygenated bloods gets mixed. So when the blood is pumped to the different parts of the body, then it will be a mixture of the blood, and as a result there is lesser oxygen which is reaching all the parts. Now less oxygen in amphibians and reptiles does not cause much difference, because their energy requirements are very less as compared to the energy requirements of birds and mammals. It is for the reason that birds and mammals both are warm-blooded animals, and they need lots of energy to maintain their constant body temperature. While amphibians, reptiles, they are cold-blooded and they need not spend energy for maintaining their body temperature. As a result, they can easily do with lesser amount of energy, but this would not have been possible for birds and mammals. So the significance of double circulation is now it allows a highly efficient supply of oxygen to all the parts, and it provides the energy which is required to maintain the constant body temperature in the warm-blooded animals. In amphibians, reptiles, birds and mammals, double circulation occur. That means that in one complete cycle, blood passes through heart 2 times. But in fish, single circulation occur. That means that in one complete cycle, blood enters the heart only once. So let's understand with the help of this figure. In fishes, oxygen enters the blood in the gills. So this oxygenated blood is then directly taken to all the parts, and it does not pass through the heart, it is directly taken to all the parts of the body, and then deoxygenated blood from all the parts of the body is only brought to the heart. Now this heart receives only deoxygenated blood. As a result, the heart of fish is also called as venous heart. Heart then pumps this deoxygenated blood back into the gills for oxygenation, and this is called as single circulation. Third part of circulatory system is blood vessels. There are three types of blood vessels: arteries, veins and capillaries. Arteries are those blood vessels which carry blood away from the heart. Veins carry blood towards the heart, and capillaries are finer vessels which join arteries with the veins. Arteries mostly carry oxygenated blood except for one artery, which is pulmonary artery. Veins always carry deoxygenated blood except pulmonary vein. Now, because the walls of the capillaries are very thin, so things can pass in and out of it. As a result, they facilitate the exchange between blood and cells. Let's see this figure now. We can see the wall of artery is very thick, which is made up of muscles and elastic fibers. As a result, the walls of artery can dilate or constrict. But the walls of the vein are thinner, having lesser muscles and elastic fibers. As a result, they cannot dilate or constrict. Lumen of an artery is narrow, while the lumen of vein is wider. Arteries can change the size of their lumen also by dilating or constricting. Inside an artery, blood is flowing very fast and it is under high pressure. As a result, there are no valves present inside an artery because there is no possibility of backflow of blood. While inside a vein, blood is flowing very slow and its pressure is also very less. So valves are present to prevent any backflow of the blood. So now we have completed all the three parts of circulatory system, which are heart, blood vessels and blood.